Thursday marks 20 years since Princess Diana was killed in a car crash inside a Paris tunnel.
An off-duty French ER doctor was the first on the scene to help the princess, and he tells CBS 4's
the conspiracy theories, as I call them, were all basically rubbish. It was a very simple accident: speed, collision, bouncing off the embankment, and pillar 13.
The major surgeon in charge of saving Princess Diana after her involvement in a ghastly accident has just spoken up.
Missing piece of the jigsaw, Diana's fears that she'd be murdered. That fits in with what Al-Fayed said. It also fits in with the large flash. That would explain that there was and then suddenly you're joining the dots.
He is ready to reveal the unknown details about the fateful night that claimed the life of the amiable princess. And his revelations have shocked the entire world. In fact, it might just be the answer to finding the true cause of the princess' accident and death. What are his revelations, and why is he revealing them 2 decades after the death of the princess? Join us as we uncover the details of the surgeon's confession and the true cause of Princess Diana's demise. The surgeon's account. For over 2 decades, the tragic death of Princess Diana has haunted the world. The people's princess, whose grace and compassion touched millions, passed away in a devastating car crash in Paris on August 31st, 1997.
The princess, who spent her life in the relentless glare of the public eye, died in a speeding car in Paris, apparently trying to evade pursuing photographers. Her body was brought home today under a cloudy English sky.
Despite numerous investigations, conspiracy theories, and public mourning, some questions surrounding her death remained unanswered, until now. Just recently, Dr. Moncaf Daman, the emergency surgeon working at Pitié-Salpêtrière Hospital in Paris, where Princess Diana was rushed to after a serious car accident, has spoken out for the first time. Finally, he is ready to speak the truth, and his account reveals shocking but heartbreaking details about Diana's final moments. His revelations challenge some long-held beliefs and raise difficult questions about how the accident was handled. Stay tuned as we bring to you the actual truth about what actually happened that night. Before this, he had kept quiet about the true details of what happened that night at the hospital, despite being invaded and disturbed by the paparazzi, and a lot of people interested in getting a scoop about how the princess passed away.
The doctor says Princess Diana was clearly in pain. He grabbed his resuscitator to help her breathe.
So she reacted with her arm. She was a bit more conscious.
Apart from giving an account to the police who were investigating the cause of the accident, treatment, and cause of death, he had refused to speak to any other person about the state of the princess and the treatment she was given. Therefore, his willingness to come forward now is quite shocking, and can be attributed to his continuous feeling about how sad it is to lose someone so young. He also noted that they often had critical issues similar to the case of the princess, and it was quite shocking to discover that they were unable to save her. This might indirectly verify the theory of the princess's treatment being tampered with. To confirm this, let us go directly into his account about the treatment. Dr. Moncaf was an excellent doctor, and his account of the state and treatment of the princess was one of professionalism, desperation, and emotional torment. He noted that the princess was brought in at exactly 6 minutes after 2 o'clock in the morning, critically injured from the crash in the Pont de l'Alma tunnel. Her injuries were severe, and the medical team quickly realized they were dealing with a life-or-death situation. As soon as Diana arrived, the medical team began working to stabilize her. They faced incredible pressure, especially when she went into cardiac arrest. They continuously performed multiple rounds of internal and external heart massage to try to get her heart beating again. In the meantime, Dr. Bruno Rio, the senior duty anesthetist, asked Dr. Moncaf to perform a surgical operation so she could breathe well.
She was my patient for a few minutes, but for sure, I think that could hurt her family. So I think I have the right to set the record straight and say the truth, what really happened, and say.
Thanks to the operation, it was discovered the princess had suffered a significant tear in her pericardium, which protects the heart. Immediately, they decided to move her to the surgical theater. By then, it was 30 minutes past 2 in the morning, and they were joined by Dr. Alain Pavy, known as France's top heart surgeon. There, they discovered that Diana's most serious injury was a ruptured pulmonary vein, which caused massive internal bleeding. This type of injury is nearly impossible to fix in an emergency because it affects a major blood vessel that connects the lungs to the heart. Along with this, she had a concussion, a broken arm, and major injuries to her chest. While her external injuries were alarming, the internal damage was far worse and needed immediate attention. Refusing to give up, Dr. Pavy sutured the lesion, and Dr. Rio continuously administered adrenaline. The team worked non-stop for over 2 hours, completely losing track of time as they focused on her condition. Unfortunately, despite their tireless efforts, the injuries from the crash were just too severe. At 4 a.m., Diana succumbed to her injuries. Dr. Monsef said the team did everything they could, but it seemed that from the moment of the crash, her fate was already sealed. Very saddening. But why is the doctor speaking up now? Is he trying to acknowledge a conspiracy as regards Princess Diana's death, or just weary of carrying the burden of knowing the truth about her last moments? Keep watching to understand his motives.
By one of the nurses, and he came back in tears, really, and came up to me and said, "I'm afraid she's dead." But then after we had heard that she had died, then I was on the phone.
The world has long wondered why those closest to Diana's final moments have kept quiet. Some consider it part of the conspiracy theory about the manipulation of Princess Diana's passing. However, for Dr. Dahmen, it is both ethical and deeply personal. The doctor had mentioned it is the duty of a doctor to carry the weight of the patient's last moments with him, and that weight cannot be shared lightly. As a result of this, he was unable to share all the details about the incident with the media. His medical confidentiality and professional ethics had bound him for decades, until his emotions could take it no longer. He knew he had to tell the truth about the occurrence. But how? The doctor, while revealing the truth about the unforgettable incident, explained that he had never been able to forget the incident due to the celebration of his son's birthday, which occurred around the same time. He remembers the event every time he had to celebrate his son's birthday. He explained that his wife had given birth to their son the same year the incident happened. Afterward, he battled memories of trying to save the princess whenever it was his son's birthday, and the reminder that the world had no knowledge of the truth. And tired of bearing this burden, he had come out to reveal his truth to the world. However, to understand the gravity of Dr. Dahmen's revelations, we must revisit the sequence of events that led to Diana's untimely death. Details about the princess' tragic passing. The accident which claimed the life of the princess and her companions happened on the evening of August 30th, 1997.
At the moment that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident in Paris just a few hours ago. There had been extreme concern.
That fateful night had begun innocently, with Diana and her companion, Dodi Fayed, enjoying an evening together. They had spent the day avoiding the paparazzi that constantly hounded Diana, and by nightfall they decided to leave the Ritz Hotel, owned by Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed. Their driver, Henry Paul, took them through the Pont de l'Alma tunnel, a decision that would seal their fate. Traveling at approximately 65 miles per hour, far above the tunnel's speed limit, the car had crashed into a central pillar. The impact was devastating. By the time they were found, Henry Paul and Dodi Fayed had passed away. Princess Diana, sitting in the rear seat without a seatbelt, initially survived the crash but suffered catastrophic internal injuries. Also, her bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, was severely injured and was later reported to have no memory of the crash. Eventually, it was discovered that their driver, Henry Paul, was driving under the influence of alcohol and prescription drugs. Emergency responders arrived quickly and worked to stabilize Diana at the crash site. According to reports, she was conscious but in severe pain. The French emergency medical protocol prioritized stabilizing her before rushing her to the hospital, a practice that has since been heavily debated. At the hospital, she went into cardiac arrest several times due to a ruptured pulmonary vein and severe internal bleeding. After hours of desperate attempts to save her life, she passed away at exactly 4 a.m. that day. One might think that her demise will result in a sober and thoughtful moment for the paparazzi. But instead, it became a field day for them. They were more than happy to continuously feed on the excitement brought by the announcement of the princess's demise after being the main cause, or so many thought.
As dawn breaks on the day of Princess Diana's funeral, the crowds are already gathering on the streets of London.
Others assume that the paparazzi's chase is only a decoy for the actual perpetrators behind the passing of the princess. Well, follow along as we dissect these rumors or conspiracy theories to fish out the actual truth about this tragic incident. Theories about the death of the princess. One of the earliest theories pointed fingers at the paparazzi who relentlessly chased Diana and Dodi Fayed's car through the streets of Paris. Critics believed that the paparazzi played a strong role in the occurrence of the accident, as they were the reason why Princess Diana had left the hotel, despite the fact that it was very late. Also, the decision of the paparazzi to aggressively pursue them despite the late hour was greatly condemned and believed to have contributed to the crash. This theory is corroborated by witnesses' reports about photographers on motorbikes surrounding the vehicle and flashing their cameras. Many believed that this must have pressured the driver, Henry Paul, to evade them at high speed. Others accusing the paparazzi believed that the paparazzi must have joined hands with certain forces and that they were deliberately trying to push the car into dangerous circumstances or were unknowingly part of a larger plan. However, all these were debunked by the next news. Keep watching to find out. While everyone fixed their gaze on the paparazzi, the French authorities revealed the result of their investigation of the event, explaining the most probable cause of the accident. The driver of the car, Henry Paul, had been driving under the influence of alcohol and prescription drugs, with a blood alcohol level 3 times the legal limit. Shocking, right? How could a driver have taken the wheel under the influence of alcohol and even prescription drugs?
We found that alcohol can cause a slowing down of any reaction. So obviously, while you're driving, even a very small amount of alcohol may cause the slowing down reaction.
Many began to wonder, bringing up several questions, such as whether the princess and her partner had any knowledge of the state of her driver before takeoff, whether Henry had intentionally taken the drugs, or whether he had been drugged unknowingly. Soon, some conspiracy theorists suggested that the toxicology reports were tampered with to deflect blame from larger forces. They argue that Henry Paul was not visibly impaired on CCTV footage taken minutes before the crash and appeared to be in full control of his faculties. Others claim Henry Paul may have been pressured or bribed to drive the car recklessly, or that he was unknowingly part of a plot to orchestrate the accident. Nevertheless, all these are not as interesting as the next theory: the royal plot. Many people love stories, and a plot in the royal family is one which catches the attention of several people. This is why the theory about Diana's passing being caused by either British intelligence or the royal family, gained more traction than any other theory. However, whether this story is true or not depends on evidence provided by those who believe it. Advocates of this theory point to Diana's strained relationship with the monarchy and her claim in a letter written months before her death that she feared for her life. The letter, which was addressed to her former butler, Paul Burrell, predicted that she might be killed in a staged car accident. In the note, she claimed that there was a plot to tamper with her car's brakes, leading to a crash. She also talked about her ex-husband, Prince Charles, and how he is taking advantage of her.
Her chilling prediction reads, "This particular phase in my life is the most dangerous. Someone, the name blacked out, is planning an accident in my car, brake failure and serious head injuries."
Many people are convinced by this letter that the royals were involved in the accident that claimed her life. Her accident. Proponents of this theory argue that Diana's increasingly independent lifestyle, coupled with her global popularity, posed a threat to the monarchy. To support their stand, they often cite her strained relationship with Prince Charles, her divorce, and her alleged knowledge of sensitive royal secrets as potential motives. Some also point to her romantic relationship with Dodi Fayed, suggesting that a marriage between Diana and a Muslim man could have been seen as problematic for the royal family's image. These theories gained traction when Mohammed Al Fayed, the father of Dodi, publicly claimed that Diana and Dodi were killed to prevent their relationship from progressing. He speculated that their potential marriage and Diana's rumored pregnancy posed a threat to the royal family's image. However, extensive investigations, including a British inquiry known as Operation Paget, found no evidence to support these claims. Also, medical examinations conducted after Diana's death found no evidence of a pregnancy. Despite this, the theory continues to circulate among those who distrust the official narrative. Another theory centers on the French emergency response system, which prioritizes stabilizing patients at the scene before transporting them to the hospital. Critics argue that this approach cost Diana precious time and may have contributed to her death. The ambulance had taken over an hour to reach the hospital, even though it was only 4 miles away. As such, many have questioned whether this delay was intentional, suggesting that a faster response could have saved her life. Also, critics have questioned the timing of her transport to the hospital and whether different protocols could have saved her life. In France, ambulance services prioritize stabilization of the victim at the scene over rapid transport, a stark contrast to the scoop and run approach used in other countries. However, French authorities defended their procedures.
Scotland Yard is not talking about this new information beyond what they've said in their statement. They did say the information is not part of the old investigation, not a rehash of old facts.
And medical experts have stated that Diana's injuries, particularly the rupture of her pulmonary vein, were almost certainly fatal under any circumstances. Nonetheless, this theory has fueled suspicion about the handling of the crash. Dr. Dahmen's testimony had also fueled debates surrounding conspiracy theories about Diana's death. And while he maintains that her injuries were consistent with a high-speed car crash, he does not shy away from discussing the delays and systemic failures that plagued the response. He focused on asking the question surging in the minds of many. Could a faster response have changed the outcome? He also proposed an answer to the question by admitting that the injuries of the princess were almost insurmountable, and that even under ideal conditions, the odds were not in her favor. Sad, but that is his comment about the emergency procedure in France. Unfortunately, all these theories do nothing to reduce the grief of those who care about the princess like her 2 sons. Stay tuned as we uncover the effect of the loss of the princess on her family and the world at large. Effect of the princess passing on the world. The untimely death of Princess Diana at the prime age of 36 sent shockwaves around the globe. Beyond the public mourning, her passing left a significant void in the lives of her family, especially her sons, Princes William and Harry, as well as in the causes and communities she tirelessly championed. Her death not only altered the dynamics within the royal family, but also left a lasting impact on the countless individuals who had benefited from her compassion and humanitarian efforts. For Princes William and Harry, the loss of their mother was both personal and deeply traumatic. At the time of her death, William was 15 and Harry was just 12. They were at Balmoral Castle in Scotland with their father, Prince Charles, and grandparents, Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip, when the news broke. The royal family's decision to shield the boys from the public spectacle of grief allowed them some privacy but was criticized by many who felt the monarchy appeared detached. Diana had been a hands-on and loving mother, breaking royal traditions to ensure her sons experienced a semblance of normal life. She took them to amusement parks, treated them to fast food, and ensured they interacted with people from all walks of life. Her warmth and approachability were a stark contrast to the formality of royal protocols, making her loss even more devastating for the young princes. Both William and Harry have since spoken about the emotional toll of losing their mother. William has described her death as a pain like no other.
You feel pain like no other pain, and you know that in your life it's going to be very difficult to come across something that's going to be even worse pain than that.
While Harry revealed he suppressed his grief for years, only addressing it in adulthood through therapy. This unresolved grief had far-reaching effects, particularly for Harry, who has openly admitted to battling anger and mental health struggles following her death. Despite the trauma, Diana's legacy has continued to shape her sons. Both have dedicated their lives to championing causes close to her heart. William's work in mental health advocacy and homelessness echoes Diana's efforts to support vulnerable communities. Harry, too, has focused on humanitarian work, including veterans' welfare and mental health initiatives, often referencing his mother's compassion as his inspiration. Prince Harry and Prince William were not the only ones who felt the loss of their mom deeply. Several other people who were beneficiaries of her philanthropic acts will always remember the woman. The Princess Humanitarian Acts. Princess Diana's humanitarian work was one of the defining aspects of her life.
William and Kate just visited Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital, a hospital that may not exist today if it wasn't for Princess Diana and her humanitarian efforts back when the facility first opened in the 90s.
She was not only a patron of numerous charities, but also a hands-on advocate, using her influence to bring attention to issues often overlooked by society. Her death left a significant void in the lives of those she had helped and the causes she championed. One of the great causes she was well known for was creating awareness for HIV/AIDS. She was a trailblazer in changing perceptions about HIV/AIDS. At a time when stigma and misinformation surrounded the disease, she was photographed shaking hands with an AIDS patient without gloves, challenging fears and prejudices. Her death was deeply felt by the HIV/AIDS community, as she had become a symbol of empathy and understanding. Organizations that benefited from her advocacy lost a powerful ally who had helped reduce stigma on a global scale. Also, Diana's campaign against landmines remains one of her most enduring legacies. Just months before her death, she had walked through a minefield in Angola, bringing global attention to the dangers of landmines. Her passing came before the signing of the Ottawa Treaty, which sought to ban landmines, but her efforts were credited with significantly influencing its adoption. Her absence was acutely felt by organizations like the Halo Trust, which had relied on her star power to amplify their mission. Another important cause that she championed was her support for homeless youth. Her work with charities like Centrepoint highlighted the plight of homeless young people in the UK, and she frequently visited shelters and engaged with residents, offering them hope and validation. Her death left a gap in advocacy for this vulnerable group, though her sons have continued to support these causes in her honor. Diana's approach to philanthropy was deeply personal. She connected with individuals, making them feel seen and valued. Her absence was not just a loss to the causes she supported, but also to the countless lives she had touched directly. Thus, it is with deep honor for this great woman that her funeral ceremony was prepared in a manner as grand as that of the Queen Mother.
That Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
The Princess Funeral. Princess Diana's funeral, held on September 6, 1997, was a historic and deeply emotional event, watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide, making it one of the world's most popular televised events. Held at Westminster Abbey, the ceremony was attended by 2,000 guests, including dignitaries, celebrities, and friends. Among those present were then Prime Minister Tony Blair, U.S. First Lady Hillary Clinton, and celebrities like Elton John, George Michael, and Tom Cruise. The day began with Diana's coffin being transported from Kensington Palace to Westminster Abbey. Draped in the royal standard and adorned with white lilies, the coffin was accompanied by her sons, Princes William and Harry, as well as Prince Charles, Prince Philip, and Diana's brother, Earl Spencer. The young princes walking behind their mother's coffin was one of the most memorable and heart-wrenching moments, symbolizing their strength and vulnerability. Earl Spencer's eulogy during the service was particularly striking. He praised Diana's compassion and criticized the media for its role in her life and death. Also, Elton John performed a reworked version of his song "Candle in the Wind," which became one of the most iconic moments of the funeral. The song was later re-released in Diana's honor, becoming the best-selling single in history. As the funeral procession moved through London, crowds of mourners lined the streets, many weeping openly. Thousands of flowers were thrown onto the hearse as it made its way to Diana's final resting place at her family estate, Althorpe, where she was buried on a private island dot. Though Diana is gone, her impact endures. In her sons, in the causes she supported, and in the hearts of millions who saw her as the people's princess. Her death was a tragedy, but her legacy remains a powerful reminder of the difference one person can make. Dr. Moncalf has given his own account of the treatment of Princess Diana. However, is that really the truth? Let us know your opinion in the comment section below. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the following video shown on your screen. You will enjoy it.